the thing that I found amazing when I went to Poland for the first time last summer, 2 summers ago, I've never seen so many McDonald's. There was McDonald's across the street from the McDonald's.
Impressive.
It was I had heard that the Polish
Is that better?
People love America and all things American, but going there and seeing that many McDonald's, it was awe-inspiring.
But that's because they wanted the activity center, right? To exercise inside of McDonald's.
Well, tell me about that. What's the deal with so many McDonald's in Poland?
There was cultural event in 90s. These photos from this event pop up a couple weeks ago on my Facebook, so they were like kind of reminding. It was 93 or 5. Big place in Warsaw. You kind of like diners here. So people don't know what is McDonald's, but they open something that look like the normal cafe in Dallas, for example. That's what they do. Yeah.
But I think in Eastern Europe, right, post 1989,
yes,
there was an expansion of the American culture, and one of those was the fast food industry.
I born 88. I'm a kid of the Polish fresh capitalism that we copy as it is from here.
Import that part of Americana, right? The movies, the music, the food.
So the things I
the
see
jeans.
here, I remember already from my growing up childhood.
Yeah.
Translated.
So hi, everybody. I'm excited to have you guys. We have another episode of the Leverage Podcast. I'm your host, Davio Venturas. As always, I have with me the esteemed cardiologist, Dr. Federico Macy. Most of you know him as Dr. Suave. We are very excited about our guest today. He has a great story of both art, health, and I think you're going to be excited to hear the whole tale. So welcome, Adam Gruba. Thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you, Davio. Thank you, Fred.
You're most welcome.
Awesome. I hope we can do some art doing that already as a discussion.
Yes. Well, that's how I actually met you, because at his aunt's Christmas party, you were, as a gift, giving everyone some of your art.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
And so that was part of what brought you to the United States, right?
That's bringing me to the United States, yeah. I've been here before, and it kind of established in my mindset what I want to do. I was first time here 2015, making some things, traveling and knowing United States. Then I go back to Europe, and I get back to Indonesia when I originally work.
So back to Poland, and then from there to Indonesia?
Yes.
And Indonesia is where you have your foundation, right?
That's true. There's a place name and the foundation name Sesama. That's the Javanese words explaining the term of equality partnership in art.
So it's to promote art mostly.
It's promote the lifestyle of working together as a non-collective collective. Inspiring.
What is that, a non-collective collective? Can you break that down?
Yes, it's sometimes the collective of the people that we know and also our friends are not in a place where we are living, but because
so they're offsite.
Traveling. Sometimes we are met in Dallas, maybe we are met in Warsaw. For many years we were meeting in Yogyakarta, Indonesia.
Right.
That was our hub for the community.
And so is it a group of artists
that
collaborate?
Artists. Yes, it's a group of artists. It's a group of the artists working with the institutions all together. It's the group of artists that work with each other, for example, on a certain project. And we name our tribes or groups, many different names. The group that I met already in Dallas and I joined and continue was named IMS. I was coming with my own group project called Golem.
Golem, I see.
Golem
From
is my own name as an artist too.
Right.
From the Jewish mythology. And the place that
it's not Greek mythology?
No, not this one. No.
He takes credit for
a
lot of these people, huh?
Golem is the Jewish mythology between Poland and Czech Republic. There was a story.
I thought it was from the Lord of the Rings, no?
Gollum.
Close enough.
Exactly.
No, so you chose this name. You were telling us the mythology of this Czechoslovakia and Poland. Why did you choose it?
Yeah, so it was really interesting that you guys have a heart on your table outside. So what I think about term golem that I adapt as my art name, nickname, and kind of philosophy of my art is like when we as a human beings being inspired by the people that we met, we see things, we touch them to the ears, we kind of construct in the front of us, it's of course the imaginary concept,
Right.
kind of the second person from the clay. That's how the golem was constructed. So I think that we as a human, or whatever is in us, decide what we want to do, we put a spell on this clay, and it's become one with us, which is our body.
So it's a bit
Health.
of a metaphysical connection to the person
Yes.
on the
And,
clay, and then you work it from there.
Yeah, it's like kind of the thing that you think as a philosophy of a way of thinking. It's not really. It's like in the books, right? We think we read the fantasy. We know we don't see that as a true and cannot touch it maybe right now.
Right.
But as an imagination, it work for us. It help us. So that's what I like to do with art with other people. So during the individual practice, meeting with others, we have this dream, like utopia dream, to create this community hub to work and experiment on ourselves, like on astronauts that land on Earth. So we do this. I was from Poland, and I live and study before in Indonesia, and I moved there. And the foundation that I work with helped me to rent the place and started. So we started out inviting people, mostly from Poland.
And what about students, local?
Yes. So what we're trying to do, as we know as artists, and we see what the NGOs doing in the modern world. So we are thinking, let's flip it out. We want to learn from the locals
Right.
and spread it outside, not opposite way that we see and want.
Oh, that's genius. I like that.
Right.
You're subverting this.
Yeah, we were making trap on ourselves as a white, foreign, Polish guys
Right.
trying to do whatever in a country when you are the white.
So the inverse colonialism
The
strategy.
inverse colonialism strategy, and it was sometimes working, sometimes not. But we are open experiment, and until November 2021, the time when I came to the United States, there was a place that was active. People were coming there, working with us, and starting some projects like we do conversation right now.
Right.
So let's meet because we met on some auntie Christmas party. I know Davio, now I know you. And
Right.
sometimes from these talks, and I learned that in Indonesia and in Poland, we can have projects to be done. For example, the social issue. So for many years, we were doing kind of projects, try to tell the people that, yeah, you need to go to the doctor and you need a mental health advisor. But sometimes it's good to have friends that
Right.
spend time with you and make something that you feel is make you happy, that for sure have a like health abilities to.
Yes.
That's it.
I read somewhere today when people meet you or meet anyone else, they ask you, where are you from? What do you do? But they rarely ask you, are you happy? What makes you happy? And that's, I would imagine that among the many lessons from places like Indonesia, where there perhaps is a lot of contentment in people because they become or derive pleasure from very simple things in everyday life, that may be one of the greatest lessons that most of us in Western societies can learn from those parts of the world.
I agree. Certainly, my golem soak a lot
Right.
from
those
me living there, being there, spending my life, kind of my years of my lifetime, almost 10, my
Right.
34 years old lifetime.
So you were 24 when you first went to Indonesia?
Yeah, after my master degree in Poland,
You did music in Poland, right?
I did. I'm a performance artist. I
Right.
graduated the master and bachelor from Intermedia department of Academy of Fine Arts in Krakow,
In Krakow.
the oldest art academy in Poland. And then, since then, I was invited and I get the scholarship to study in Indonesia for 1 year. It was 2012,
Right.
and that allowed me to extend my looking for what I want to do
Right.
after the studies.
Well, what an amazing opportunity and changing
That
the
is
culture
amazing, and
completely.
I want to really promote this opportunity because I was not so unique to get this opportunity. I was one of 700 people from around the world feel like that,
Right.
to be chosen from many other countries to study in Indonesia art, biology, language, cuisine, everything you want, depend your interest.
How much of the cuisine did it blow your mind when you
blow
moved?
my mind. Yeah, it blow my mind mostly because I was already interested in like chain of food. So the chains of food are so interesting in Indonesia and are so basic, and you can touch them. You can see how the chicken walk and the tomato grow in the front of you.
So their diet consists more of carbohydrates, I imagine, rice,
Rice,
starches,
Yeah, the main
fish,
base is the rice and meat, but
beef, or
not
more
pork because there is Islam. So there
right,
is
not pork.
chicken
Yes.
a lot,
Chicken.
and let's say beef and goat. I don't know the goat is classified as a beef.
No, it's different.
Yeah,
It's goat.
but there's a lot of goat, beef.
Right. Those are the main. And what about seafood and fish?
There is a
Is
lot
there-
of seafood, and there is a local
markets?
source of that. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But it's mostly the rice. So the proportion of the everyday meal, random meal that you can see on the street, is a big portion of the rice, spicy food,
Everything spicy.
everything spicy.
Love it.
Yeah. There is a sambal.
And so, is there a big difference between how the affluent eat and the people who are in the lower socioeconomic level of society?
No, actually, the habits and behaviors are similar. Kind of, the quality of the produce is only different, but kind of the menu of recipes and
Right.
stuff are kind of same on many levels of economical life, and that's what makes things amazing. Because this basic sambal, the mix of the spicy lemon, ginger,
Right.
it's kind of basic for all
Basic.
kind of.
What about vegetable consumption? Not much.
It's a lot.
They do?
It's a lot, but it's sometimes the meal as a one meal is mixed with meat already, or it's kind of they like to cook a lot of different kind of mixed vegetables with a meat
With the
together.
meat. And then on a bed of rice.
Right. So the everyday street food, which is also taking really big role in everyday life of every person.
Right.
You just go there and eat a big portion of rice.
Was that a big change from the way you were eating in Poland?
No, I can say my mom and I grow in a great diet environment. My mother is a teacher herself, so we
Right.
were all eating vegetables and meat, and my grandparents were taking care about that. So we were always taking care about that. You know, maybe even sometimes too much.
Yeah.
You know,
No.
at cakes.
Well,
But
Doc-
in
Doc-
a way, I can say, you know, my mother know the rules.
The reason I say is because, you know, from a cardiovascular perspective, you know, Poland has the highest heart attack rate than
That's true.
all the other European nations.
That's the truth that I learned from you before we start talking.
Yeah. So I'm worried about our Polish brothers and sisters because there has been a dramatic increase since 2015 in, you know, heart attacks per 1,000 individuals.
Wow.
11% increase. So I wonder if, you know, there had been.
Well, it's getting
Issues.
worse. It was the worst, and it's getting worse.
Yes, correct.
Do you think that's the increased consumption of fast food? That's got to be.
It's got one of the elements, as you mentioned at the beginning of this discourse, that McDonald's in front of McDonald's, right? Concept.
Right, but also there's the Polish food through the centuries, and right now after the, let's say, different kind of diet times during 17th, 80s when we were kind of under the Soviet Union
Right, still.
thing.
Right.
These all behaviors of the how Polish people eat change because of the war
Right.
70 years ago, through the shortage of the food supplies,
Right.
nationalization of the food chains. All of that have the significant role in how the Polish diet is actually. In
So-
America, you will call like also like German diet, Polish diet,
Right.
middle. So this is like meat with the flour and egg fried.
Right.
There is a potatoes
Potato.
mashed. There is which is a good kraut, right? The koleslav or the salad thing.
This
That's a
sauerkraut?
good-
you
yeah,
mean?
yeah, This is the big part. So let's say, and there's a lot of meat. So I think that the statistic that you showed me before
Yes. But
is
meat-
because meat is kind of cheap, so you can get a lot of energy from it. So
And-
as
and-
economic,
And we're talking beef and pork mostly?
yeah, a lot of pork.
Yeah.
And
But
beef,
with a lot of saturated fats, obviously.
a lot, yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And then, so post World War II, there was a dramatic change in the way Polish people ate. I imagine they were had great agriculture prior to World War II, great dairy, and
Yeah, it wasn't so great, but it was growing better after the first war, right? So these old
Yes.
wars and the conflicts, and we are in this geopolitical position, then we are
Right.
always there in the
Between
middle of
Germany
two
and
big, right,
Russia,
two big
Russia.
powers that they also have problems and stuff. So that's exactly have the significant,
impact on your diet.
on
Yeah.
the, on the
And then the
diets.
shortage.
Yeah, on like
On the-
many what people eat even right now,
Right.
and what you called is Polish food.
Right.
So, but now his positive thing is
I always think kielbasa and sauerkraut.
right, but the sauerkraut is okay, but kielbasa is
But that's a
from
process.
where?
It's a processed meat.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's not the best quality, right?
And we have a
Processed
lot of
meats.
that. We have a lot
Yeah.
of that.
And now with the influx of fast food and the novelty of it, especially among young people, because of the convenience, maybe the cost, maybe it's cheap. The Polish young people are copying the same example as we've had here in the U.S. for the last 70 years, post World War II, with the fast food industry
Their
being
statistics
part. Yeah.
are their statistics worse than ours?
Just as bad, yes. Or especially middle-aged men and the women. I mean, have a huge catch-up in cardiovascular disease in Poland after the age of 50.
That's after menopause, right?
Yes, so they lose their protection from estrogens, and then the diet really catches up. But also the cigarette smoking. I think Polish have a high incidence of
That's
tobacco
true,
products.
But it dropped, even in positive way, because when I was still studying, let's say, 10 years ago, there was already you cannot smoke in European bars and clubs,
Right.
But they go over the regulations, so you can smoke outside. So and the cigarette tax goes so high, so they try to stop that. Also in an economical
Right.
way, make it expensive, overtax it,
Yes.
and
So that cut it some, right? Because it was so
cut it
expensive,
some,
especially American
it cut it-
cigarettes.
especially the Philip Morris have a
Yes.
place in Poland.
What about the alcohol? I know that's been a big issue too.
Big problem in consumption. So as you know, like Poland have a big tradition of drinking as a social thing,
Right,
like
right.
any country have.
Right.
But the access to the alcohol is the problem, I think, and education of making the alcohol okay drug.
Right,
Like
among
this-
the young
just
people.
Among the young people, because the cigarettes, they can't get over it, right? We have no advertisement in TV.
Right.
We cannot smoke. You cannot buy easy cigarettes. Like I was a kid, it was kind of easy to buy cigarettes. Now it's not. And
right.
I will stop the teenage to buy
But
cigarettes.
the
And
alcohol is part of
people
the culture.
react. Yeah,
Right.
alcohol is a part of the culture. The shot of vodka in the front
Yeah.
of you
I s-
and friendship make you friendship, but that's drowning because the access to alcohol is
Yeah, I saw
24-hour.
the World Cup. Poland usually has an amazing team and amazing players. And,
Oh yeah.
you
I
know,
saw
that are-
the poster of Lewandowski
Players.
on your
Lewandowski,
on your
yes.
wall.
Yes.
No, I don't have one.
I know, I'm teasing.
But we have that in the U.S. too. Sometimes those athletes that young people look up to aren't necessarily doing their best to promote a healthy lifestyle because they do drink,
They do.
especially
They do.
when they're not training.
Right, but there's
Quite
a
a
big,
bit.
they maybe not, but they are included in the campaigns, and
Yes.
if they hold the bottle, who know they're drinking? Maybe they're not.
Yeah.
But that's the just.
But they're
holding
getting paid to
They-
promote.
Yeah, so they on Instagram, and I know the Lewandowski drinking beer.
Yes.
I hope not, but probably he do after he wins.
Maybe that's why they didn't win.
No, because you
He
cannot
missed that
win-
penalty shot, didn't
you
he?
cannot win if
Okay.
you only have the one good Lewandowski star. That's what they base on.
Well, but you did have a pretty solid team
That was
altogether.
surprising this year. I was in Mexico and
Yes.
watching my team in Mexico. And
Yes.
that was amazing to see if they go so far.
Yes.
They go far.
Yeah, I won't say much for the Mexican team sometimes. But we shall do a whole podcast on sports.
Kind of same.
One time. But so here in the US, then you're promoting again your art and
Right.
trying to grow your group, your Golem.
Yes, I'm exploring. I'm here 1.5 years. I was already have opportunity to live in many different conditions and places. Means in trailer parks, in a car, just like explore tourist. So
Right.
And I'm also interested in a nomad lifestyle of America. How this is impact the health, because it's also including the economy. Part of it, yes, but I'm promoting what I do in Indonesia. Just saying that people that I did this, and this,
Right.
and sometimes making the video for someone that I found interesting. That I told Davio a couple of days ago that for example, in Huntsville, Texas, I met this woman, and she was fascinated by this thing happened to the oldest in the front of the oldest jail in America.
Right.
They have a building, and there's animals, bats, 1.5 million of them choose this building to live in.
It's an abandoned building
It's an abandoned building
across the street
Across
from
the streets from
the prison, from the
Yes.
Huntsville jail.
So, for example, I found it really interesting. So I start to work with this woman, just record her what she's saying, and record the bats, and try to understand.
Because they come out at sunset, right?
Yes, every night. Every
1.5 million
morning.
bats.
Since 60s. Yeah, and I
Wow.
think I found it really interesting to explore the thought of that this is a jail, and this is the bats, and they're all in the front of each other, meeting in this point. And now I'm trying to find out how to help bats, because there is kind of real estate thing going on.
To remove them. all
Yes,
right.
the local society of Huntsville, people are afraid that if the bats will be moved from this building, they can attack the businesses.
Right.
So people there's really interesting things happening.
And I guess because of the coronavirus and
because of the coronavirus
all of that too,
and the
right.
stigma of the image of the bats,
yes.
and the pop culture positive image
Yes.
as a Batman.
But in all
But in the front of the
Yes.
jail, that's what.
but
made
they're
me
probably
drive.
not the horseshoe bats, just like in the ones in China,
There
right?
are
that had the harbor the coronavirus.
Mexican tail bats, really popular.
Oh,
in this
Mexican
Oh,
tail.
it's Mexican bats. Oh.
Oh, so that means they're real good at soccer,
They
right?
just they just call like that. But they in Brazil,
But-
they call Mexican free-tailed bats.
But just putting your brain around the fact that you have a prison, and then these bats here side by side.
This is insane.
It's freaky.
It's freaking, and that's what really turned me in with my kind of art that I'm doing before to America, to look for the people that I can help, because I think maybe my perspective, the guy from Poland who found that interesting
Yes.
and record this woman making art, like movie, maybe making some shorts for her or whatever I can do
Like
for
a
her.
documentary.
Like a documentary, and explore with her the way of like holistically thinking about the society, community,
Yes.
art. That's what drive me in here, and I'm exploring this topic.
Well, what I think I've always found interesting about your work is just you come into America and things that for us we don't even notice because we're just in the culture and that's just the culture. You really notice because you're from an outside perspective and it's not that same way in Poland. So you're able to bring a different sensibility to stuff that maybe the rest of us don't even notice.
Or take for granted.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And be able to
Observe.
like what you were saying before, how you notice that in America, the wealthy people are the ones that seem to be in shape. So tell us what you were saying before we got online, how you noticed that.
Yeah, how I noticed that, because it's obviously promoted on the media platforms that we watch and really attached to, Instagram, Facebook. And as an artist,
Right.
we are on these platforms, we're trying to promote our lifestyle, our objects of art, paintings, movies and stuff. So beside of the addiction that we all have sometimes to social platform, you see what is promoted. And it's like, this is a 90% of it or more. Podcast and heavy light. And the products that are behind it are expensive courses,
Exactly.
trainings,
Yeah.
products, machines to exercise with your personal trainer. This cannot be afforded by the someone who come to America and trying to get somewhere, or students who come to America, and people who also want to have a healthy lifestyle, but economically they cannot afford shopping in a certain shops that they know that these products have nutrition.
So in the U.S., we arguably have a population of say 335, 340 million people currently, and probably 20, 21% at any one time is on a welfare program. And there are many more who do not qualify who do need welfare programs, in other words, support. So let's say we have almost a third of the population in the U.S. That's close to 100 million people who have what is called the social determinants of health. They don't have, as you pointed, access to the equipment or the information for good health. They don't live near parks where they can go peacefully exercise without the risk of, say, violence or danger for their children. They don't have access to the great food, so they live in food deserts where predominantly fast food products or processed foods are available.
Markets only.
Yeah, that offer only high sugar, high saturated fat.
Not the fresh vegetables.
Yeah, and processed meats that are poor quality, and then other items that are incredibly important: access to healthcare early, so they can get preventive strategies and address issues early. So, in the U.S., we have a major problem with a vast number of people because of these multiple social determinants of health, and as you mentioned earlier, I think about mental health. Yeah. There is that huge component, and unfortunately, we see its ugly head almost every week here in the U.S., where when you have mental health issues in young people and you put guns in the same circle, you have catastrophes. And the problem, and I'm not suggesting that I know how to solve it, but I think it's a combination of both of those, and to restructure society so we can address both effectively, especially the mental health issue, is something that is occurring not only here in the U.S., but worldwide.
That's worldwide. That's the new statistics of the young men that we are the risk.
Right.
45 to die because of the heart failures or whatever. Yes. But the statistic of the suicide in Poland, I just read it. It's horrible.
It's horrible.
It's just growing, doubled last year.
Yes.
But these people are my age, younger, and just before 45.
Yes.
So it's really interesting validation of so if I make it to 45 and doesn't make a heart attack, or I can get crazy.
Right.
Have whatever the term.
Mental health issues. So in Poland, because of its adjacency to the war that's going on, with Ukraine and all that, I think it's probably, you could tell us a little bit more from talking to your friends and your relatives, your parents, it probably has affected the country in a very adverse way mentally for mental health.
Oh, yeah. For example, my mother is a teacher in a small city in the north of Poland.
What grade does she teach?
1 to 3, which is like primary
so very
school.
Young kids,
really young kids. And she have couple families and I think 2 or 3 students from Ukraine just after the war starts. Only the one family want to remain in my hometown now after the year. Some of the families get back. But we need to remember the 40 million population country take almost 4 million people to take
10%.
Wow, that's a huge
So Poland has taken 4 million refugees
I was
from Ukraine.
Like 3 something million, but there was
almost 10%.
Of the stream and flow, it was 4 million people. So people
that's unbelievable.
Get scared just in the moment, but we as a Poles, we know about that situation can happen since 2014, since earlier.
Right.
And when I was studying Krakow, and we study with my friends, Ukrainians, they coming for the scholarship. So we have always know that will happen.
Right.
By the way, with my friend from Dallas, I've been to this kind of like Burning Man in Poland, 2015.
Right. Similar.
On the border of Ukraine, Slovakia, and we met soldiers in a forest walking on the trip.
Russian soldiers or Ukrainian?
No, Polish soldiers.
Polish soldiers.
And who patrol and told us there is a tension on the border. but we are just on some private land.
Yeah, for the music.
From the music, and there was a national forest park. So what the soldiers are doing here, telling us that.
Right.
That was weird. So what is changed right now as a mental health? People are just afraid of war.
Yeah.
Just simple.
Of
Like,
course.
I was afraid being
The
here
fear.
last year.
Yes.
Remember the February? I was
Are-
like, okay, so now I should go back to my country.
And I bet this stress, this collective mental stress for the country, is causing the increase as well in cardiovascular disease
It's
incidents.
DNA.
Yeah.
It's
For
also
sure.
with DNA, because with this fear is planted 70 years ago.
Yes.
First war.
Yeah.
Other conflicts happening in the region.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
other conflicts happening in the region are impacting.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the effect of World War II is generational. That's what you're saying. So now any conflict like that is reliving that nightmare
Yeah,
over
it's like
and over.
again tsunami or again earthquake. It will come again.
Yes.
And some kind of, you can feel it in the region. Of course, now we are okay because we are in NATO. We are in European
Right.
Union. The partners protecting, and we are helping Ukrainians
Right.
with resources through American money, I think. You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of American money, but physically speaking, Poland has really been incredibly supportive to Ukraine because of the immediacy and the number.
Yes.
How many? You said maybe up to 4 million or close have gone over across the border.
And you need to remember, we are doing the times that the government is trying to put the refugees out of the border. Just as today, I read the article about the refugee, and they're coming to Belarus from many different countries. That's
Right.
part of the plan over there.
Right.
So some of them, and it's visible in the media, they just heal them in Poland. For example, make the broken leg in the gypsum.
Right.
They heal
And
them.
put-
They heal them. Heal
They're
them.
putting them outside of the border.
Right. Wow.
Working
Once
for
they
them
get better.
For dead. They just make whatever the law allows them to do, but they don't want to keep them as an example in our country. This is European country we're talking about, like
Right.
all of that, and they just putting them outside of the border. So these things happening. There's the signs from the government. The clear statement of not wanting the refugees.
Right.
Similar statement to the state of here. On the
Right.
wall. Yeah.
Well, on the one hand, once all the refugees know that you'll take them, then they all go to you. That's the what's the old joke?
No, it's about the law, man. It's like European Union and America, and there was in the article I read today. There was the example of the border police in Poland will not be prosecuted for putting this human outside of the fence of the border. In here, they will be prosecute him if the border police will find out guilty for doing illegally things,
Right.
illegal the law of the country
Right.
that we are in, of the whatever the Geneva and stuff is saying.
Right.
That's what is not great, and that is also the fear that's coming back. So the Poland is full of fear of refugee planted by the government since years.
Right.
Of nationalist thinking,
Right.
kind of, and it's kind of paradoxically right that in Poland, this kind of thinking that we run from Second War
Yes,
is going
yes.
back as
Again.
a power.
Well, it's
Taking
also
outside.
ironic because Brexit, the fuel for Brexit.
Brexit, I'm showing the quote Brexit
Right.
because how you want to disconnect Texas from United States right now? Because Texas want to be disconnected. It's Lone Star,
Well,
but
sometimes
maybe not.
no, but I was just saying that.
Similar like Catalonia in Spain. You
It's-
see how they want to be separate. They have different language. They feel different. Economically, they feel powerful. In Poland, we have Silesia region. They want to be out, but they are in Poland.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah. So the Brexit, one of the issues that they use to make Brexit pass is Polish immigrants. That was the scary thing that they said.
Immigrants and Polish part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Polish. It was Polish plumbers. That was the icon that they used.
Yeah, and others to build this country.
So it's ironic that in Poland that you guys are using the same
Yeah.
tactics that were used against you. It's almost as if Mexicans said, "Oh, we don't want any immigrants."
Yeah. And yet they can go
Right.
across the border.
Right.
My question is to myself: how are we gonna change it, Adam? And I don't know.
Right.
There's no question to anybody else.
Hopefully diplomacy will stop this war.
Right.
In
I
the near
believe in
future.
word and diplomacy
Diplomacy.
only, maybe.
That's my innocent, naive way of looking at it, but I think that's the way
I
to
do
go.
too.
For all the countries in Europe and the world at large.
So
But
that-
so let me ask him something. Do you see yourself going back at some point to Poland,
Of course.
to Warsaw, to be an artist there, to be part of a
Yeah.
group?
That's a big. The question is always appearing in my mind even before you ask that,
Yeah.
because people for making like community hub and putting myself as a Pole in Indonesia for so many years.
Right.
People ask me this question. Ask this question myself. Why I'm not doing the same things in Poland?
Right.
It's coming.
It's coming.
I'm feeling. I
Well,
need to like grab the golem.
You're a young
Polite.
guy. You're on this path, on this journey, right? You have many years to go.
Right, so that's why I'm like I use these opportunities on the way to learn and grow.
Absolutely.
And then I think I want to go back there and give my skills, give my knowledge.
Oh, that's
give
great.
my college
That's great,
there.
yeah.
And my hometown is a really small place near the Baltic Sea, 16,000
Beautiful, I
people.
bet.
Exactly.
We all
here.
have our journey, whichever it is. I myself, I've spent a lot of time in Mexico, Canada, a little bit in Europe, U.S. It's a great journey, and it's people ask me, "What's your favorite place?" I said, "I love all of them. They all have taught me different things, and in a very positive way. So there's not one place that's better than the other, not one worse than the other. They all have their own rich source of culture and knowledge. And if you only take a step back and take the time to look for it, I'm sure you've discovered certain things here about the U.S. where you may have had a stereotypical view of it. But now living here for a year and a half, and I know you were here before,
Yeah.
now you're saying, well, there's these beautiful things about it too here and other things that you have discovered. Like,
And I love them here. It's like the people that I follow, and then they do like festival art. They living in the trailer parks. They create some tribes. They have really big will, and they are creative.
Right.
And they pursue these dreams in a crazy surrounding of the firearms, of the crime that is, for example, not so visible for me from Poland, for example. Here,
Right.
and other factors, and I'm really inspired by how they just go for it, and because we have this stereotypical image that everything in America is for money, and it's true. The culture here is a business, but the people I met on my way, they make it this different way. They make it in
Yes.
so many different ways that I see here how people. In a healthy way, hustle their life because the hustle is also the word used by the crime, but the positive hustle of how the people make living here is really inspired.
Right.
Oh, that's
That's what I'm showing on my stories, on my movies, and my Indonesian friends see and my Polish friends see. They love it, they want to explore it, and they're kind of curious about what's going on, man. This is cool. We never know that. We never know
Right.
this. Oh, how this positive it is. We don't have this image. There's not only cowboys.
Well, that's the real diversity of the U.S. is
Yeah.
you have all these people through their art, through their creativeness, through their instincts to make a better world. And it doesn't necessarily require money.
Or global.
Exactly.
It's just require your family, friends, and sometimes if you're really successful, and it's also happening here, people like using these resources to help others.
Right.
And this is cool examples here. I don't have any, but we see them because they are part of our algorithms of what we
Right.
see and we learn.
Yes.
And that I'm inspired of.
So, for people that want to follow you more and find out more about your foundation, can you share everybody your socials so they can
yeah,
follow
sure.
you and maybe get involved? Because I think it's a wonderful message, and what you're trying to do, basically bring art and increase the beauty in this world. I just think is the kind of thing that the listeners of our podcast could get behind.
Absolutely.
Right. So the goal that I'm leaving the Indonesia to make for the foundation for myself was we established the foundation in Indonesia without any money, and we spread. We closed the place, like we make everything totally opposite the way it is. We start the foundation without the money, and we close the place that we worked for many years because now the tribe spread. I'm here. Some people are
Spread.
spread.
Yes.
And I'm collecting knowledge and resources for
This is his fourth language, so
for going
He's doing great.
for going back to Indonesia and as a group and invite people to create a new place and create a new dream. So whenever people want to follow that journeys or the place that already exists, Sesama, they can just go into the Instagram, type my name in, Adam Gruba.
You want to spell it for everybody?
Yeah, you can spell it.
Well, Adam, we get what your last name?
Gruba. Gruba.
Oh, it's easy.
Yeah.
Gruba.
Gruba, yeah.
Gruba.
And we'll put it in the
Adam.
we'll put it in the
Exactly.
comments.
And
So on
the
Instagram,
other-
Facebook.
Exactly. Instagram, Facebook are the same, and the place that I wanna you guys to see, because there's the collective, non-collective location, was in Indonesia, and now is whenever we sit and talk,
Right.
Sesama, downline, underline, Yogyakarta. But I think it will be easier for the our audience to read it on the screen.
Yeah, we'll put it on there. Yeah.
Very good. So it goes, right? The journey continues. Never a dull moment, right? And so now you'll call your parents and say, hey, by the way, Dr. Macy says that you got to stay and eat
That's what's
right
gonna
and
happen.
walk and
This is gonna happen.
decrease stress to not have a heart attack. Unfortunately, as many Poles are having more than
No, I feel
Europeans.
no, because when I come to the studio, you just tell me that.
Yes.
And I
Wasn't that
love
shocking?
Yeah. Yes and no. We need
Yeah.
this reminder.
Yes.
Well,
When you said, "Don't worry, Adam, I'm not aggressive," I'm like, I know that, but I would like. Nobody like the reminders.
No.
Like the fathers should do for us.
I
Like
was-
this, like you.
Yes.
Whatever. You should go more for the bike, and I know that, and I appreciate that.
Yes. Well, I was looking at the statistics among different European nations on how COVID-19 and then the war has increased dramatically cardiovascular disease incidence. And Poland was at the top of those. And it shocked me. So the fact that you're Polish was a brilliant opportunity to bring this out and go, okay, let's remind all of you from Poland, please
well,
take care of your hearts.
well, I just
Exactly.
had a brainstorm. You know, what you're thinking about going back to Poland, the foundation, integrating everything you've done. I think helping the Polish with nutrition through art is a very worthy idea of something that you could put together when you're ready to go back. I know you still have that fellowship that you're doing
You
here
mean
in
he
the
should
US.
paint apples?
I don't know. He's the artist. He's the artist. I'm not the artist. I'm just the
Maybe the social mind,
is
you know,
the-
the social hive of mind that is happening right now. We have AI, right? We have
Yes.
internet and this platform. I believe the dream is, how about making all of these platforms work together for this
Yes, integrate.
result, like integrate.
And
us
we're going
to-
there gradually.
Yeah, exactly. Help me having Dr. Fred reminder every day with myself, like, man, you know, this belly or whatever. You know, this is important, but this can be do in a positive way
Absolutely.
through the platform, because we scrolling anyway.
right. Exactly.
Absolutely.
And we
Exactly.
will.
Well, if people can present it in an interesting, artistic way where it is compelling, then that gets people to follow the information. When it's boring, people ignore it.
No, I think that
Yes.
like neuro-linguistic programming that the media give to us, and we believe that we will do everything for that. I'm sorry. It's mostly like we will believe
That's
that.
true.
If we turn it into the health stuff, we can be more healthy.
Absolutely.
That's the whole. That's a great way to wrap up. That's exactly why we have the Leverage Podcast. You want to
And AI will add more leverage down the line as machine learning will help us to better interpret images, right? From a medical
Right.
perspective, much better than we humans can,
To calculate,
whether it's X-rays or
computation.
CTs or MRI or the genetic profile on somebody. So we'll have very physiologic, anatomic, lab data going in and better interpretation, and that will result in the deep learning
Right, our understanding of deep learning. Right.
to provide individual guidelines for a healthier lifestyle. So not one size fits all. This isn't one diet for everybody. We have different genetic input. And then from there, the one thing that will be essential
Right,
is
like
the
my-
connection,
because he has as a
connectivity among the providers, doctors and other providers, patients, and then patients with each other, so people can become more self-accountable. Anyways,
As a Mexican, he has to have a different diet than you as a Pole or me as a Greek. And
Yes.
so
to prevent bad outcomes.
Right,
Cancer,
right.
heart
Because we have
attacks,
DNA,
strokes.
right?
Yeah.
That's
That's right.
DNA
Exactly.
factors that
Yeah.
also
Absolutely.
direct us.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well-
this is why we Mexicans, only go to the first round of the World Cup,
Oh, right.
and you always go
Same.
into the second round.
Yeah. Sometimes.
And the Germans in the the Brazilians and I guess France won. No,
Italy-
Argentina won.
Italy,
and they go to
France,
the other
Argentina.
round.
So
But they
thank you.
always
Some
bring
genetics.
there.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the Leverage Podcast. Once
Thank
again, I
you.
was your host, Davio Venturis. We had our guest, Adam Gruba. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been fantastic having
Dr.
you
Federico.
here and learning about your wonderful organization.
Thank you, guys. It was really pleasure to share and enjoy the moment.
Thank you again.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you soon. Oh, don't forget to subscribe.
Oh, yes.
YouTube. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Rate us on Spotify. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Did I forget anything?
I think you got them all.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Okay.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.